everybody, and welcome to my review of The Timeless Children. My name is Cybermanalf, and overall, I'm just gonna start this review by saying there are some people who are going on about how it completely destroys Doctor Who and breaks the entire Doctor Who canon. I am not one of those people. Some people saying they didn't like it because it was an information drop, and it wasn't really much else. I'm not one of those people. There's some people who love it, hate it, in between. I am somebody who loves it, and on first viewing, my initial reaction, I'm sure I will probably go back through and go, I don't like that line, or I don't like this scene, or this 5 minutes could have been cut or something. But my first viewing, I would go so far as to call this episode perfect. Something which I have only previously given the title of To Heaven Sent, because Heaven Sent is just perfect in every way. My first viewing, there was nothing which stood out to me as, like, I don't like that line, I don't like this bit. You could say, like, every problem I come up with, like, something I didn't like, makes sense in some way, and if I think about it, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I actually really like that. For example, the companions not doing much. But then it's the Doctor and the Master's story. Ryan's line about him getting basketball in the hoop, but then it's a nice parallel to episode 1. The cyber Time Lord things being slightly silly, but that's the kind of lunatic thing the Master would do. I think something else as well that I want to say is I finally understand why they made Chibnall showrunner. I wasn't really sure why they'd chosen Chris Chibnall, of all people, to become showrunner. Because, I mean, he hadn't written stunning episodes like Moffat had when he'd become showrunner, so I never really understood why he'd become showrunner. Then in Series 11, I was like, he's proven he can write good stories. In Series 12 and Series 11 was Spyfall Part 1, Fugitive of the Judoon, Ascension of the Cyberman, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. But then, he'd never before done a big epic story like he was claiming this one to be. And he'd never really before tied up a lot of mystery, because the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos, or the walking around on Ranskorav Kolos, was just like walking around. And he promised it was going to be some battle, but it wasn't, and he didn't have to tie up any answers, so I was worried. After this episode, I finally understand why he became the showrunner. And after this episode, I am just blown away by the quality of this episode. Like I said, I think it's perfect, so you can all guess what score I'll give it out of 10 at the end. But I felt really excited throughout this whole episode, so let's talk about the stuff I did like. I mean, that's basically the whole video, isn't it? Stuff I did like. Sacha Dhawan as the Master was perfect. The perfect incarnation of the Master. Cementing himself in this episode as not just the best Master of all time, which he is, in my opinion, but as one of my, if not my favourite Doctor Who villains of all time. His Master portrayal was just phenomenal. In every way possible. In the best way. His Master portrayal was manic, scheming. His interactions with Jodie Whittaker in this episode were phenomenal. He really stole the show. Everything he did, everything with the lone Cyberman, where he shrunk him. His insanity really got through in this episode, and I absolutely loved his portrayal, and him showing the Doctor everything, and him being the one to reveal it all worked so well. And I loved his Master in Spyfall Part 1, and I was so glad we got to see him back here. And his scheme, everything about this version of the Master in this episode was perfect, and Sacha Dhawan is definitely the best Master of all time, in my opinion. So, I'm now going to talk about the Doctor, or shall I say the Timeless Child. Her performance, Jodie Whittaker, was also incredible. From the moment we started the episode, she agrees to go with the Master, rightly points out that she shouldn't believe anything the Master says. From the beginning of this episode to not believing anything about the Master, still being joking, to physically attacking the Master, wanting to find out the truth about her past, and then willing to sacrifice herself, kill the Master and all the Time Lords to save her friends. The transition she's gone through from Series 11 to Series 12, and mainly in these last 2 to 3 episodes, really has shown her acting ability, and she, in the story, smashed it out of the dimension into the other universe where the Doctor probably came from. Her performance in this episode worked. Everything about it worked. And the realization that the fact that she didn't know her past, but there was a lot of past before her that she didn't know about, and realizing that made her stronger, not weaker, was such a well-performed moment in this story. And everything about her character in this story worked so well. I felt every line she delivered was deserved. There were no points where I was like, oh no, why is she doing this? She should be being serious at this point. None of that. Her and Sacha Dhawan, they played off each other really well. And I just loved everything about her performance in this episode. The way she reacted to everything, and the way it was written, and the way she performed, it felt really genuine. It felt like something someone who didn't know about the past would actually do. You would want to learn about your past. You would feel like it was your right to know about your past. So everything in this episode, for me, about the Doctor, the Master, perfection. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, away from like the Cybermen and everything, I will come back to them later, but something that I think can actually make or break a Doctor Who episode. The music was absolutely phenomenal. Something I love is they use the Master's theme a lot. The Master's theme is definitely the best piece of music Sagan Akinoda's ever put to the show. I mean, in his 2 series as music composer. That intercut with the Doctor's theme, the new theme for Gallifrey, the new theme for the Cybermen. And I love the way it was played in all these different ways. Something else I love is, I will talk about the Doctor Who theme playing in the actual episode later, but I want to sort of devote a whole section to that one scene. Anyway, the Doctor's theme played throughout the episode, especially after she'd blown up the Matrix and was lying on the floor. The version of her theme on the piano, the sad version, was just incredible. And I feel like that piece of music, I know that isn't her proper theme, I prefer that to her proper theme. Every piece of music in this was exceptional. Everything in this fitted the tone, was so melancholy and sad, and I just loved it so much. And I really just want the piano version of her theme to become her actual theme, because I really prefer it to her normal version. And I loved the Doctor Who theme just playing when she blew up the Matrix, again talking about that. But I think I was originally hesitant to whether hear the Doctor Who theme played as like a character's theme in the show. I just loved it. It just starts playing and you're like, nah, this is Doctor Who. This is the bombastic Doctor Who that a lot of people have wanted. And I just loved that bit. I don't think the scene would have been nearly half as good as it was if her theme had started playing like the normal version. I mean, it would have been amazing if they played the piano version, but a piano version of the Doctor Who theme, I mean, as well, would have been incredible. But the Doctor Who theme playing in that scene, phenomenal. So yes, I am going to talk about my favourite part from the entire episode. The scene where she blows up the Matrix using her memories. That's literally what I have to say. Just silence. There are no words that can describe the perfection of this scene. Everything from the way it was acted to the setting. I love the way she was just blasting at memories. You saw loads of flashbacks from her time as the Doctor and previous Doctors and the Morbius Doctors, confirming they are indeed actually canon versions of the Doctors. And the Doctor Who theme playing in the background. All culminating in this just phenomenal bit of the episode where she just thinks she's blowing up the Matrix, and it happens. And at that moment, at this moment, I was just thinking, this is just a perfect episode. This is one of the best episodes that Chibnall's written, if not of all time, in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't like this episode. Personally, me, phenomenal in every single way. I loved the Cyberlords, I loved all that stuff, and the fact that Chibnall managed to incorporate pre-Hartnell doctors, and the Doctor being the first Gallifreyan to regenerate and everything. Well, she's not really a Gallifreyan, is she? But the first person to regenerate on Gallifrey and have pre-Hartnell doctors in such a respectful and amazing way, which I didn't think could be done, it just shows how good Chibnall is, and that is why he was chosen to be showrunner. And I finally now understand what all of this is culminating to, and the way he handled the story arc, everything in this episode just worked to perfection. So, overall, Timeless Children this is a timeless episode. Overall, I give this episode a 50 out of, a 10 out of 10. A perfect, timeless episode. And I'd like to hear what you all thought of it down in the comment section below. I really don't mind what you put it. I love hearing other people's opinions on these things and understanding why people don't like or really like a certain thing. Next week I think I will have a ranking out of all of the series 12 episodes, then followed by a ranking of the series, and then top 10 Jodie Whittaker episodes, and then if that does well, followed on by the other Doctors. But personally, phenomenal episode. Absolutely incredible. It's just a credit to, if after all this time, this Chibnall, the perfect Chibnall, the one who can write this incredible episode, has finally come out. Where have you been? I've been Cybermanalf, but for me for now, it's goodbye.